Prologue. The illusion of victory. When a woman leaves a relationship, especially one where a man has long provided stability, protection, and an emotional anchor, she often feels a sense of euphoria. It is a state of psychological elation caused by the sudden freedom from a structure she herself destroyed. Her friends support her. Social media applauds. It seems to her that she is on top of the world. She posts photos with a slight smile, captioning them with phrases about a new chapter and living for myself, and shares stories with a glass of wine set to music. All of this looks like a triumph, but in reality, it is a facade, an illusion. Behind it lies an emptiness she is not yet ready to acknowledge. This stage is not about liberation, but about compensation. She is not celebrating freedom. She is running from the feeling of being replaced, from the fear of being unwanted, and from the truth she conceals with Instagram filters. Chapter 1. The psychological credit. The first thing she does after leaving is not a trip to Bali or starting a business. It is not self-improvement. It is a new intimacy. Contact with another man becomes a form of self-affirmation for her. It does not matter who he is. Feelings do not matter. Only one thing is important: to receive confirmation that she is still in circulation, to prove to herself and her circle that she is attractive, desired, and interesting. This is not attraction. It is a frantic attempt to take out a psychological loan for her self-esteem, and at an exorbitant interest rate. The longer the relationship lasted, the more abruptly she throws herself into a new connection. In her logic, this appears as an act of liberation, but in essence, it is an act of disorientation and an escape from inner anxiety. The night with a new man does not bring her satisfaction. She wakes up not with a sense of victory, but with a slight inner tremor. Because behind her is a man with whom she built, invested, and survived. And before her is a person whose name she does not yet fully remember. And if you think this passes without a trace, it does not. This crack does not disappear. It simply hides under new lipstick, a new story, another filter. It is from this moment that the process of internal collapse begins. It may be hidden externally. Her feed will still feature photos, coffee, and evening lights. But inside, the first fracture begins. The kind that cannot be covered up with the words, "I'm happy." This is not happiness. It is anesthesia. And it will only get deeper. Chapter 2. The intrusion of reality. The next stage of her new life arrives quickly, though she herself hopes it will be different. After the emotional high, after the first evenings with new acquaintances, and after the first experiments with her appearance, a collision with reality occurs. The world of men she has returned to does not look the way it seemed from inside the marriage. There is no tenderness there. There is no attention. There are no guarantees. The man she lived with was an exception. Those who surround her now are the rule. And the rule is simple. A man owes her nothing. She does not learn this from books. She feels it herself. A gift does not mean interest. Dinner does not mean continuation. And a compliment does not mean respect. The new world she has entered is not like the fantasy she built in her head while dreaming of freedom. There are no soft boundaries here. This is a marketplace. And if in her former life she was used to being the center of attention and care, now she is just one of many. One of hundreds. One of thousands. No one makes plans with her. No one is interested in her views. All they want from her is short-term contact, light conversation, a sexual fling, without depth, without intentions, without responsibility. At this moment, the woman experiences internal resistance for the first time. She tries to justify what is happening. It's just the wrong person. I haven't met my one yet. I just need to wait. But inside, the first alarm bell is already ringing. Everything is different here. Here, she is not a queen. She is a candidate. Each new acquaintance brings not inspiration, but burnout. Texting, dates, banal jokes, repetitive propositions, quick rejections, and gradually a weariness builds up in her. The very same weariness she was supposedly running from when she left the relationship. Only now the weariness is different. It stems from meaninglessness. From this moment, the woman feels for the first time that reality has invaded her personal fairy tale, the one where she was the heroine of a new life. And it is right here, at the very beginning, that she starts to lose her bearings. Because the world that seemed vast and open turns out to be narrow and monotonous. There is no love in it. There is a game. And in this game, she is not the leader. She is a resource. Chapter 3. The Social Illusion. The illusion continues, but now it is a collective one. She is not alone in this performance. She is supported by her circle. Friends who also need to justify their decisions, followers who like another photo of her with a new hair color, virtual admirers who offer to chat with no strings attached. The woman continues to play the part. She plays it as long as there is an audience for her role. But when she is alone, different evenings come, without filters, without effects, without an audience. Just her phone, and an emptiness that no social media story can disguise. Here, the moment of truth begins. The moment when even bright lighting and light makeup cannot hide the traces of fatigue. Not physical fatigue. Existential. Because everything she is doing is an escape. From acknowledgement. From honesty. From herself. And then, for the first time, a feeling appears that she cannot ignore. It is not loneliness. It is a realization. The realization that replacing a life with likes, stability with emotions, and authenticity with brightness did not work. And that there is no going back to who she was before. And moving forward is frightening, because it is more of the same, just with a different background. Chapter 4. The Internal Fracture. She does not cry. She does not tear up photographs. She does not write long posts about pain. On the outside, everything is calm. But this is precisely the signal. Because true anxiety is silent. A woman who has experienced an internal fracture no longer seeks contact. She begins to fall silent. Not because she has nothing to say, but because she no longer wants to lie, neither to herself nor to others. She sits in the dark, replaying the moment she believed that freedom was the solution, when she chose myth over reality. And now, alone in her apartment, she feels not emptiness for the first time, but guilt. Not towards the man, not towards the children, but towards herself. Because she did not betray others. She betrayed herself. This moment is not the end. It is only the beginning. The beginning of the destruction of the image she created. The beginning of a reckoning that cannot be postponed. She no longer asks her friends what to do. She does not seek advice in articles. She does not read horoscopes. Because inside, everything has already been decided. There is a quiet fear. And in this fear, a new stage is born. Not on the outside. On the outside, she still wears a mask. But the mask no longer saves her, because her soul has already removed its makeup. And this is the point of no return. Chapter 5. The Other Side of Freedom. The freedom she dreamed of no longer brings her lightness. Now, it is not a flight. It is a fall without a landmark. At this stage, the woman realizes, No one is holding her anymore. There is no one waiting for her. There is no man making plans. There is no home she can return to in case of failure. Everything that seemed like a new start has turned out to be a loss of foundation. Every day for her is now unprotected. Her value is temporary. Her beauty is expired from a lack of attention. Her words carry no weight, because the one who built with her is no longer there. She is free, and at the same time, she is alone. And this freedom is no longer a blessing. It is coldness, the coldness of choice, the coldness of irresponsibility, the coldness of uselessness. Now she is her own judge, defender, and companion. But a woman was not created for solo mode. Her nature is in connection, in support, in recognition, and the recognition has vanished. No party, no new acquaintance, no experiment with her image can cover up the main thing. No one truly needs her. Because by stepping outside the family, she also stepped outside of meaning. This is the other side of freedom. Where you owe nothing to anyone, you are also not important to anyone. And what's next? Next is either a return to the truth or a life in a mask that no longer provides warmth. Chapter 6. Strategy of Behavior. How to get your wife back and not lose yourself. Open any women's blog, any article on how to get your wife back. Everywhere, you'll find the same set of cliches. Work on yourself. Give her time. Become interesting again. This is not advice. It is a trap. And it is for those who are already at rock bottom. Here is the advice most often given by psychologists in popular English-language publications on divorce and relationship recovery. Listen and validate her feelings. Cornerstone Marriage Ministry. This approach emphasizes the importance of acknowledging the woman's emotions as real and justified. The man is advised not to argue with her feelings, but to gently affirm that her pain is important and has been heard. The key formula is, I understand how you feel. According to the authors, this gives her a sense of security and opens the way for dialogue. Work on yourself and your emotional triggers. Relate counseling services. Psychologists suggest focusing on personal growth. To understand which internal triggers and behavioral patterns led to conflicts. To undergo individual therapy, learn not to react impulsively and become an emotionally stable and mature partner. Try couples therapy to reconnect and rebuild trust. Very Well-Mind authors recommend family therapy as a platform for safe communication. There, in their opinion, partners can express themselves without accusations, rebuild lost bridges, clarify mutual expectations, and agree on new rules, but only if both are willing to work. Remind her of the good times and stay in her orbit. Marriage. SOP. In one of the publications on this site, men are advised to gently remind their ex-wife of the best moments of the past, accidentally appear in places she frequents, and continue to wish her happy holidays to not let her forget. They also advise communicating through mutual friends, hoping she will hear something good about you. In essence, these are recommendations to remain in the background and wait for her to change her mind. But no specific actions or changes in oneself are required. Only a polite presence and a positive attitude. Focus on rebuilding emotional intimacy first, before asking to reconcile. Healthline, do not rush to reconcile. Instead, establish emotional intimacy through honest, warm, and informal conversations. Gradually reduce tension, show support, and be there not as a man, but as a person. Only then, perhaps, bring up the topic of getting back together. Give her space, but remain emotionally available. Psychology today. Do not demand or impose anything. Give her distance, but remain available, without claims, without expectations. Demonstrate respect for her space, and thereby show maturity, which commands respect and, possibly, secondary attraction. Now, for our position. You can read this advice endlessly, retell it to friends, discuss it on forums, but it does not work. Not because men do not want to change or show respect, but because all of this is just words, behind which the main thing is missing: strength. No woman returns to a man for his words. None goes back to someone who has proven he has become better. Because in her eyes, this is weakness, an overly diligent attempt to please, a desire to be liked at any cost, and a man who strives to please evokes pity, not passion. A true return happens for another reason. A woman returns to the one who disappeared, who does not beg, does not explain, does not prove himself, who has moved on, silently, coldly, without claims. She does not return because he became better, but because he became different, unflappable, unpredictable, unattainable. Therefore, all you must do is not follow articles, but activate your self-respect. Stop saving. Stop explaining. Stop seeking contact. Instead, start building yourself, your life, your foundation. Not to prove something to her, but to reclaim yourself. This is what works, and it is the only real strategy. Everything else is a comfort for the weak.